Hello, hello, my fellow sensitive people. It is I, Whimsy, your favorite tarot reader named Whimsy, here to talk about all things magical. And again, we are going to be interviewing my favorite therapist in the whole wide world, Miss Marcia Martin. Welcome back to our table, as they say. Well, it's your table because we're in your home. But
and I thank you.
Yes.
You are welcome anytime.
So, welcome back, and there's a couple reasons why I wanted you to come back. And number one was because people are very upset about the Amazon being on fire.
Okay. And rightly so.
And rightly so. And I know how calm, you have helped me a lot because you're a very calm, loving person. But I know we're going to talk about that.
All right.
But also, a lot of people were fascinated with your work as a therapist because you know, it's unusual to see somebody be both a remote viewer and a therapist. So I thought I would just start off having a conversation with you and the audience. Just tell them a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and how you came to be you. Like, how did you come to realize that you could work both as a therapist and a remote viewer at the same time? And you have a special name for your type of therapy too, by the way.
I call it angel heart healing because I don't do it. It's not just you and I, you, patient, me, therapist. It is the divine and all of the ascended masters and energetic beings that are best suited to help you with whatever issue it is. So it's not always going to be the same energy. It will be whomever is perfect for you. And I discovered this really because of my own life choices and having made so many mistakes, having gotten it wrong so often, and having to search and search and search. But always having a heart, since I was a child, for the fairies, for the angels, for the energetic realm. I remember.
So you were woo-woo like me. What I love about Marcia is that she and I are both trained scientists. I mean, education, the sciences, neuroscience. We love the sciences, but we have another side to us. Human beings are complicated, and we like to be creative. Right? With our work.
But it has to make sense. It can't be far off, fanciful, wishful maybe. It has to make wonderful common sense. So when we use the energetic realm effectively, they will help us see the block that we have been unable to see for ourselves. And yet they are so loving. They help us step out of that constrictive box called shame and blame. And those of us who have come and chosen to be sensitive in this lifetime so often are suffering from an abundance of shame and blame. We believe because we can feel it, we must have caused it. Please, you've got to stop with that. Because you can feel it doesn't mean it has anything to do with you. It's
Amen.
Merely a cry for help. It is somebody saying, I am hurting so badly, and if anybody can hear me, please send me love. That's your job as an empath, as a deeply sensitive person, as a person who is awake, an early awakener. Your job is to share as much unconditional, that means no judgment, no blame, no shame, just simply love. Share as much love with everyone as you possibly can.
Starting with yourself.
Beginning with this number one priority.
Knowing that you are not a doormat and it's not your karma to be a doormat. That was my revolution.
Oh.
And you kept telling me that when I first went into session with you, and it was like I was under mind control.
Yes,
it was like
absolutely.
I was so messed up at that time that I literally...
I think we need to understand. If you have, as a victim in this lifetime, you've got some really powerful programming going on that is preventing you from seeing who you really are. Now, it's designed that way because you can't be a victim if you know who you are. So understand, there is a period
That's a really good point. So the perpetrator wants you to believe you are not a victim. That's the victim is the last word the sociopaths in this country seem to have taken from us. It's like, you are not a victim. You are not a victim, because if you realize you're a victim, I
You'll
won't
do
be
something about it.
Yes, and then I won't be able to continue to rip you off. So you're not a victim. You're not a victim. Okay, I'm not a victim. Then why is my life so difficult? It's your fault. It's not. It's not.
The minute somebody comes to you and says it's all your fault, I want all of the alarm bells in your entire energetic area to immediately start sounding. Perhaps it is your fault, but don't assume without going into the heart and seeing, gee, did I do something to cause this? And if so, what can I do to correct it? We don't want to, oh, it must be my fault. Yes, I'm a bad person. Please do no blanket shame. That does not belong anywhere in your energetic beingness.
Well, I don't personally believe anyone has the right to treat me like that, or to say it's my fault. I mean, I can understand someone being annoyed with me, but there's a difference between it being my fault that somebody is saying, Whimsy, you're being a jerk. I deserve that. If I'm a jerk, there's a difference between that being my fault and, say, a child who's been victimized by a psycho, like a Jeffrey Epstein or something like that. That is one of the early belief systems of the New Age movement that probably comes from feudalism. You know, keep the slaves compliant, don't make them believe they created it.
And I believe we need to understand, it comes from fear. If you are carrying fear in your heart, it's going to be easier for people to convince you that there's something wrong with you. That's the whole idea. The reason that we can get into these victim relationships is we don't have a strong sense of self, and we're afraid that we won't be loved, or that we won't have any friends or anyone in our lives if we stand up and say, hey, you know what? I am not on board with that treatment. And I want to tell you, you actually will be able to attract people who can sincerely love and care for you if you are willing to do the work of learning how to love yourself. It may not come
and
easy.
Respect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I came to realize, and you were a big part of that, was that it was not my karma to be somebody's doormat. But because I believed it was my karma to be someone's doormat, I put up with a lot of crap that I would not have put up with if I had said, yeah, I was a victim, this is BS. I'm not being treated the way that I deserve to be treated. I'm out of here. I mean, once that light bulb comes on and you see your own worth and you realize that you deserve better, you'll start demanding better for yourself.
And yes, let's address this issue of karma. It's become extremely confused. We need to understand that the energetic realm, the source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is based on unconditional love. It is not loving to say to somebody, you were bad 6 days ago, I am going to punish you for 6 years. This is made up ego nonsense designed to keep people in a position where they will be controlled. So
well, sometimes I think in a society that's not free, we are under this false assumption that all people are free, but actually remain slaves. I mean, they are sold into marriage for a bride price, which it's basically they're slaves, they're sold. So I think as Americans, it's like a first world problem. We assume that because we have a certain amount of free choice that women are free everywhere, and it's always a culture shock when I think particularly as women we go to the third world or we go to another part of the world where women are still enslaved or owned by their families or their tribes, and we realize that in societies like that, free choice is very limited. There's only so much choice you have when you're a slave.
Absolutely. So let's begin always. We must go to the origin point, which can only be the self. So begin today to change your view about how you feel about the fact that we are not allowing ourselves as women, as part of society, as women, as family members, and then society, and then country. Let's begin where we can with the authority that we have over our own selves and change the belief system that we may be carrying. Then let's teach that to our children and continue outward until we have changed the belief in the largest area possible. We are an extremely powerful group of people when we unite. If we are divided or fighting against each other, we have given our power away. We must be so careful to understand. First, you must learn to love, honor, and respect yourself. If you do not love this being that you must spend time with 24 hours a day, you are going to be ineffectual. So learn to love, honor, and respect yourself at your deepest being. That means opening up what's inside, taking a look, even if it's ugly. Say, you know what? I could do more work on that aspect of me, but I'm going to love myself the way I am right now, knowing that I'm just going to get better and better and better. The bad decisions part.
And also love yourself the way God loves you. And God does not want somebody to be treating you like crap and exploiting you. And when you start to love yourself the way God loves you, you start to stick up for yourself. I mean, I was surprised when I started to really connect with Mother Earth and that strong maternal energy, how pissed off I got. I started people that did not treat me so very well, certain people in my life, they had a tongue lashing from me. I mean, I fought back.
And that's okay. It's not necessary to repress the fact that someone has been unkind. You are not being unloving. If someone has treated you badly and you say to that person, hey, I am not going to allow you to speak to me that way, to treat me that way, or to associate with me in that manner. If you can treat me nicely, you are welcome. If you feel that you have the right to be abusive, you are no longer welcome in my life. And that is okay. That is not being unkind, cruel, or unloving. We need to understand what loving really is. Loving is loving your brother as you love yourself. Would you speak badly to yourself? I hope not, but I know that most of us do. We can be quite cruel and unkind and unloving to ourselves. That's why the place to begin is with ourself. Begin to learn how to have a conversation with yourself that says, you know, I really love you. I'm so proud of you. Look at everything you've been able to do.
I'm there now, but it took a while.
Oh, my self-conversation used to, you're such an idiot. Oh my gosh, you made such a fool out of yourself. What?
Have you ever had, can you share a couple, I know you can't talk about people, you can't give names, or of course you want to respect privacy, but in generic terms, have you ever had a case where you just saw somebody came in, maybe it was a woman who was, I know that I felt like a doormat when I first came to see you, and I do not have that problem now. But, oh no, I know my worth, and you have to meet my standards if you get to have the Whimsy. But yes, it was a long time in coming then. Thank you for helping with that. But have you ever seen somebody where they were just so beaten down and then you really saw them bloom? Can you tell us a positive story like that?
Absolutely. Just heard
and
this.
And how you were able to incorporate the spiritual work, the remote viewing into the session and what that meant for the patient.
Okay, so here's a story that will bring all these elements together. A woman came to me who had been suffering... No, that's not really true. she had been told she was suffering from mental illness. I never saw any sign of mental illness anywhere in her. However, she was under the delusion that she was mentally ill and had spent much time in and out of mental institutions, and by the time that we met was on 10 different medications. And she and I just had a session recently, and she had to attend her sister-in-law's memorial service, and the other of her husband's family members were there, and they looked at her and they said, "Oh my gosh, you have changed so much. I'm just blown away by your wisdom and your presence and your ability to be an amazing
she knew
individual."
who she was. She found out who she was.
She had stepped out of the shadows, out of this pretend mentally ill person, and stepped into her beingness, which
I think when we stop apologizing for who we are, or being
yes.
shamed for who we are, and we say, yeah, this is
Yes.
who I am, I ain't perfect, but you're gonna freaking show me some respect. When we start sticking up for ourselves like that, we are gonna lose friends. You are gonna lose people. She's crazy. Yeah, well, if you feel that way, then good luck somewhere else. I mean, you really, when you start to respect yourself, your life does get better. It does, just because you won't tolerate. I'm talking about people that have the freedom to make this choice, not people obviously who are not free. But I'm lucky. I'm not trapped in a situation I can't get out of. So I'm fortunate in the sense that I have the awareness that I don't have to put up with certain things. That, in plain words, if you're not aware, you will think that that's normal. You will think it's your karma. You will keep repeating it.
Yes, and that's what she came to me asking. She had come from a background of horrible abuse, horrible, terrible abuse. And somewhere along the way, someone had said to her, "You must have done something really awful in a previous life." Oh,
Yeah.
I hit the roof.
She probably had to pay that person, so she got re-molested. That's secondary abuse. If you are a reader, if you're a remote viewer, if you want to do this for a living, your number one priority is that you are the advocate of the person who comes to see you. You are there to protect, defend, support, just like a lawyer. We're like spiritual lawyers, like, doesn't mean that everything that a person does is okay, but we are there to support you in your journey. And if somebody is telling you that you deserve to be a doormat, and you're paying for it,
first of all, that
person should not be allowed to practice as a reader or anything else, in my opinion. But.
Well, yes, that's not honest, and that is not being heart-centered.
And it's damaging. It's abuse.
Yes. Can you imagine the kind of damage that was done to this woman who had already been abused, to hear that abuse was her lot in life because supposedly she had done something bad centuries ago?
Yeah, I hate that. It's my number one pet peeve, and I think it's the number one false teaching that has caused so many victims of abuse the secondary abuse is worse than the primary abuse. Whether it's people who are in the LGBTQ community who have been beaten because of their sexual orientation, or people of color being enslaved that have been told it's their karma to be slaves. It's the same story, really, when you think about it. It's always the same story. It's somebody attempting to subjugate somebody else for their own personal gain, and so they've got to gaslight that victim to justify it. It's like Ghislaine Maxwell telling that woman who had interviewed her that the children that she had sold into slavery were trash. I mean, she told herself a story to justify her abusive behavior.
That is so important.
And then told it to the victim, and then
Yes.
the victim, and because the victim thought it was true, went out and kept repeating that belief. If you believe it is true, it might as well be true.
That is so important. Be so aware of the story that you are being told and the story that you are telling yourself.
That's it, exactly.
Please
Your
understand.
karma could be nothing more than the story you're telling yourself.
Exactly.
And that's karma. That is the deeper interpretation from a modern Buddhist perspective, by the way. If you believe you're a horrible person, then you will never be able. Well, it's not that you attract. I think that for me it was more that I was okay with being treated like crap because I had never learned that I deserved anything better.
And because you're not expecting anything better and your belief is running parallel to this, it becomes what you are. Oh, look, here's another abuse. Right. Oh, come on in.
Right, and it's and this is my karma. Right. It just always happens to me because there's something fundamentally wrong with me. And then when you have that awakening, when you have that awakening where you realize your true worth, you nip it in the bud. That's when the karma changes. The karma changes when you see the reality of your own worth. That's what I think.
The minute the light bulb goes off and you say, hey, I'm a magnificent luminous being and I don't have to take this horrible treatment. It is not what I signed up for. No. It is not okay.
It's not why we were put on the earth.
Never acceptable. And it's not making me a better person to allow others to abuse me. The minute you recognize that truth, you can begin transforming.
You're free.
Yes.
It's like freeing the slave because we are all bound. It's always also a Jewish mystical idea of Passover. The Passover Seder, which I love. My sister Tamara and I, we love Passover Seder. It's our favorite holiday. But it's about returning to this idea of how false belief systems can really enslave us. That we become our own jailer.
Absolutely. The strongest jail is the prison in our own mind. Mm-hmm. That story that we tell ourselves, remember, the only person that is with us 24 hours a day is us. So you can have somebody who may be telling you a story, but if you don't believe it, it's just, right. And it makes no difference. You are the one that that have reinforced this to be your truth. So please understand, you are not less than someone else. If they are telling you that you are not valuable, worthy, or magnificent, they are lying. You do not have to believe them. You must not believe them. You must believe that you came here to bring something of value. Every single person has a life purpose that is extremely important to the planet. That's the reason you chose to be here at this time.
Not to be abused, not to be disrespected, but to expand the world, right?
Absolutely. You've come to be a change maker, to bring something of value and to learn something. We always come with a life journey, a life lesson, which is what we are to learn or to overcome, and a life purpose, which is what we are to share. It is always balanced. We can get out of balance because we don't understand or we become confused. However, the optimal way of being is in balance, in harmony.
Okay, so the question that people were also asking about was people are very frightened right now whether or not the planet is going to be destroyed because we are out of balance, because there is so much victim bashing, there is so enslavement, there is so much abuse and disrespect of women, womankind, the planet, etc. I know have you remote viewed Mother Earth?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you feel when you bond with her? Like, what does she need from us? What is she saying? Like, how can we help when you connect to that energy?
And that's the question that we all need to be asking ourselves. How can I make a difference? How can I help? And let's stop with if I can't change the world, I'm not going to participate. One thing that I do in my daily meditation is deep connection and love going to Mother Earth. I say to her daily, how can I help you? How can I support you?
That's right. That's exactly what I think we should do.
And the answer is always just flowing your love to Mother Earth, who is a brilliant regenerator, who knows how to restore balance and harmony to herself, that takes the dead and decaying parts of life and turns them into fertilizer that then nourishes the new seeds and brings us this new, transformed, beautiful product. If we just commit to a daily practice of sending love to Mother Earth, deep into the heart of Mother Earth, we will do more than we could ever do trying to create change on a global level.
Because we're changing our internal belief systems, and from that will come change in action.
Absolutely.
So that daily meditation, I tell people just go and I say ass on the grass. I love to see people meditate on the grass or on the earth, and even people will just lie on the grass.
Yes.
Because it grounds you to your source, I believe, the source in this world.
Yes.
And it helps you have a clearer understanding of your role in the solution rather than the problem.
And let's remember what we can all do on a daily basis. Be good at recycling. Use those reusable grocery bags. We do not need to be a trash culture. Buy only what you need. There is plenty.
Don't waste food. That's the biggest environmental threat when it comes to food. Actually, is not having a little meat in your diet. If it's reasonable, it's actually waste. 1/3 of the meat that's grown here is thrown in the trash.
Understand that when we buy too much, when we prepare too much, when we order too much, we are saying, I am afraid that there will not be enough. Being afraid that you won't get enough just means it's going in the garbage. And then there's the possibility that you really won't get enough, because at some point in the distant future, we might run out. If you live for today, in this present moment, consuming, preparing and consuming, let's go all the way to the beginning. Buying, consuming, and preparing what you need just for a week.
I think that we both were on the same page about this too, which is to buy local, simple, don't over purchase.
I love local buying.
Yeah, support local people, local farmers, etc. And have your diet be mostly plants. If you want to have a little animal protein from time, if you can't do vegan, Mother Mother Universe gets it, or Mother Earth gets it, and don't waste. I think that just those two things are powerful. Don't waste, and don't take more than you need, and try to have your diet be mostly plant-based. It'll be good for your heart health. Also, you're not overeating. You're not going to be dealing with obesity, chronic disease associated with overeating.
Make your first priority to be healthy. That's, again, self-loving. If you love yourself, you will eat according to your body's needs, not to a fad, not to into a space of lack, eating to make up for some sort of emotional deficit. Love yourself enough to give yourself what your body needs at any given moment, and learn to listen and work with your body. And
it goes back
look out for me.
I think it goes back to that Buddhist concept of human revolution, that we sometimes, part of the lie, you are not a victim, is also the not realizing just how powerful we really are. And the more we realize that we have power, the more powerful we become. We acquire more and more power. By having a channel, when I started off with this channel, I might have only had a few people, but now we're close to 10,000 people, so that's a movement. So if everybody here makes the commitment, okay, this is ridiculous, we the consumer are going to use less fossil fuels, because if we have 10,000 people, reducing their fossil fuel use, then the people who are producing it will have to come up with a new way to make money because there won't be a market.
Hallelujah.
If we say we're done,
Recognizing that you are powerful. The victim, certainly when I was believing myself to be a victim, I thought I was.
because you probably were.
But I also believed that I had nothing
You're
to...
not a victim now, though. I
No.
know her very well. She's doing great now.
But I believed I had nothing to offer. I believed I wasn't that intelligent. I believed that I should accept less, even though I was doing the same job as someone else. I believed I didn't have the same value as other people. Now I know I'm powerful.
And it's,
you will never be able to
right.
convince me
and
of
it's
that
and
again.
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that now that we recognize that we don't deserve to be treated, I don't think you had the same issues I had, but I mean, the more I start to respect myself and say, this is crap, I'm not going to apologize for, wanting to breathe air. And I go out and I just do my thing. I feel like not only do we get our power back, but we're able to do more positive things. Like, I'm really proud of how this channel has evolved. It allowed me to become a philanthropist, which was a huge fantasy of mine.
Yes.
And now I'm a philanthropist. I mean, that way, now I can say, okay, I'll go ahead and I'll fund that project. I'll fund that project because we make enough money on the channel now, and we give it all away so that I've been able to donate thousands. I've been able to fulfill my fantasy of being a philanthropist and donate thousands of dollars to charity through the channel. So the more I think the more we free ourselves from the shame that doesn't belong to us, the less we apologize for who we are. The more we're willing to make mistakes and fail, the more we can emerge into our authentic, positive self and do great things in the world.
And
at least
hey,
that's what I think.
let's realize this. Do not be afraid of money. Money is your greatest tool if you allow it to be a tool and not something that you fear or that you covet. But if you allow money to come to you as a result of the good work that you're doing in the world, you can then bless others who need your help to get started. So
you had that vision of me when you did your she did a remote viewing into my future. It was one of the last sessions we had together, and you went forward into the future, and you saw 7 income sources. I'm working on the 7th right now.
hallelujah. The angels will not say to you, be poor.
But you also had a vision of me being a philanthropist. You had a vision of me, yeah, right. But every month we give out more money. We started off, the first donation, it was I think something like $200. Then we got up to $400 a month. Then we got up to $600. This month we gave over $950. Next month it's going to be over $1,000.
Wow.
We've become it's just awesome. It's awesome.
See, this is what we can do together. This is why it is so important
to recognize our power and that as a collective, we can change the world.
Yes, and you have brought a gift to share.
Zero waste home. Don't use plastic. Or reduce plastic. Sometimes I buy plastic if I buy a hummus container or something like that, but I'm really trying to be mindful to at least wash it out and use it for storage or something else. I try to walk whenever I can to reduce the use of fossil fuels. I eat a mostly plant-based diet, which is good for heart health. It's also good for the planet. I don't overeat, which is wasteful it's bad for my health. I also try to only prepare enough food so I don't waste. That's good for the environment. Voting for candidates that are going to have strong environmental policies is another great way to help the earth. Being informed and educated about what's happening in the world and holding leadership accountable, I think, is another great thing we can do for the environment. Donating what you can to organizations like AmericanForest.org and the Environmental Defense Fund. There are so many great organizations. And then picking one, I always tell people to pick one organization that helps the environment to volunteer at, whether it's manning phones or actually going out and pulling weeds. But find one organization that saves the planet You don't have to save the whole planet, but if 7-8 billion people are doing one thing, if 7-8 billion people are planting one tree, that's 7-8 billion trees. If you go to AmericanForest.org, one tree costs $1. If everybody who watched this show bought 10 trees, just this channel alone, we would give 100,000 trees just by doing that. So we do have power, but a lot of the times we don't realize just how much power we actually have if we get organized.
And I think that's the problem, is you're just confused believing that you're only one, but you're not. Just the daily blessing of the earth is huge. But I too have bought trees. I've bought seeds for people that couldn't, the organizations that
I love those types of organizations.
And those are my gifts. If you get a gift from me, it's usually something that will go to help someone else. Unless you need something, I'll get something for you personally as well. But I also wanted you to feel like, hey, we're blessing others.
Well, so, the nature of human beings is to be empathic, and we are supposed to be helping each other, which is why the concentration camps at the border aren't natural. We're supposed to be helping each other. This is what human beings do. We feed each other, we take care of each other.
Give you the ability to love yourself more. If you are doing for others and you are doing for yourself, you're in balance, you feel good. If you're only doing for yourself, you feel and you begin self-loathing. If you are only doing for others, you become worn out, exhausted, and unable to continue. So it's always balance. It's always, I have to love this physical vessel enough to keep it going and love all that I have brought with me in this lifetime to work on. And I can be loving to others to the degree that I am able to be self-loving. So please, love yourself first. It is not selfish. It is the ultimate act in selflessness. Because when you become truly self-loving, you will automatically line up with the divine. You will be fed in a continual stream of unconditional love. It will flow to you and through you, and you will be a blessing to everyone within range. If we are all self-loving, we will all become blessings to each other. Mm. And it is, Mother explained that to me so long ago now, as I was so confused. I felt like any self-loving act I participated in made me selfish, and I became very self-loathing because of that. And she finally got a hold of me and explained, no, that's being selfish, because once they use you up, you're done. And I was done at that point. I was no good to anyone. When you become self-loving and you agree to connect and be that stream of unconditional love, you truly become a fountain for all. So,
yeah, your cup overfloweth, as Oprah Winfrey likes to say.
Absolutely. That cup overflows and you are a blessing to yourself, so you're not a burden, you're a blessing, and to all others.
Well, you're a blessing to us, and I'm glad you could come talk to us again, and I think we're definitely going to have you come back if you're willing.
Absolutely. Honored and grateful to be here.
People wanted to know if you're full up, or I don't know if you're taking any more patients right now. Are you taking more patients? Because she's getting...
We're getting right there. Might have room for one more person. Even if it is full, I'll put on my website to let you know there may be a waiting list. Still, sign up for the consultation to see whether we are a good match to work with each other. There's no charge for that. It's an opportunity for both of us to get to know each other. There may be a 3 to 6 month waiting list. If it is, I might also try groups.
There's a group therapy you can get into also.
That's what I'm thinking about. Once I'm at capacity, I have probably room for one more person. Then we'll do a group approach, so that
And that's through the internet also. You go into the internet session, is that
yes,
correct? Okay.
yes.
All right. I'm so grateful to you again for coming and talking with us. I know the fans really love you, and I'm so grateful that the channel has access to our own therapist.
And as I do promise, I do a podcast on Sunday that I put on my YouTube channel, but I am also going to do more video work. Got a camera,
Yeah.
better quality camera, and I'm just going to commit to doing it.
We're gonna make, because she does publish her podcast, but we're gonna make it so that we can actually see her on her own channel.
And they'll be short, just
Right.
little chance to connect and talk about what may have come up in my meditation that I feel needs to be shared.
Oh, before you go, do you have a message from Mother Earth about what we need to do right now? Did she tell you anything?
Mother Earth just says, commit to sharing your love with me. If that's all you're able to do every day, that is something
She comes
that
first.
we can all do, whether you are able or disabled. You can spend time in meditation sending love to Mother Earth. If you are able to physically help in cleanup efforts, please do that. Do what you can do, but please, there is no excuse. Everyone can send love. So, everyone has something that they are able to do. Please commit to doing it daily or as often as you're able to do
And
so.
vote green.
Yes. Support those people who will support you.
Yay. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next month, maybe.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Be
Thank
sure
you
and share,
so
like,
much.
subscribe. Tell me what you're doing to take care of yourself. And if you'd like to have a session, a consultation with Marcia, then absolutely we'll leave her information below. And we will see you next time.
Or just send me, guys, if you have something that you're really concerned about that you want me to address, send me an email. I will respond and you will see your question answered.
She's very generous that way. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.